Truly British equanimity is about Freel's steel body. Made of high-quality metal with double-sided galvanized coating of most parts, it successfully holds the defense against the onset of rust. Such protection from dampness and body electrics, but after 3 to 4 years, the rear wiper motor, which is not sufficiently protected from dirt, may jam. Due to corrosion of the contacts in the opening button, the trunk electric lock begins to misbehave, and then door locks with a worn mechanism may follow. A bad example. Water in the trunk is already subtle English humor in the performance of a leaking additional brake light, whose frail seal can be preventively reinforced with sealant, although in this case it becomes more difficult to dismantle the lamp to replace lamps. The sunroof is also leaking. In 2008, after its completion, there was even a service action. And the focus from the bulbs of dimensions is the plastic of the headlights melting from the inside over time. At first, there was no time for jokes with the popular 89% of cars on the market 2.2 DW12 turbo diesel, developed jointly by Ford and PSA Peugeot Citroën corporations. In cars of the first years of production, expensive fuel injectors did not differ in durability. And after 50 to 80,000 kilometers, a high-pressure fuel pump of the Bosch brand could wedge right on the go, and even, it happened, the exhaust camshaft leading it burst. In an unfortunate set of circumstances, the timing belt was torn, the valves were bent, the cylinder head and pistons suffered. The repair of such devastation pulled more than €1,000. Therefore, the entry in the service documents of machines older than 2009 about the warranty replacement of the camshaft and high-pressure fuel pump for modernized units is a big fat plus. If the onboard computer highlighted an inscription about an engine malfunction in more recent diesel specimens, and the Freelander was clearly exhausted and began to smoke like a steam locomotive, the culprit of the troubles must be sought in the intake manifold. Freel's turbocharger is one of the most enduring among all Land Rovers, and if you change the air filter more often, it easily reaches 200,000 kilometers. But the intercooler pipes, and the air cooler itself, fail, with an enviable regularity. Sometimes after 60 to 80,000 kilometers, they lose their tightness, and after 80 to 100,000, due to drive wear, the automated air damper on the intake manifold can start to act up. After 7 to 8 years of service, the main radiator is also able to leak. After 100 to 120,000, oil can flow through the crankshaft seals. And as winter joys, diesel drivers can expect attempts to revive the Webasto startup heater that has gone awry. Failures occur in the control module, but most often the burner is harmful. By the way, when replacing glow plugs that have expired after 60 to 80,000 kilometers, due to soured threads, sometimes you have to completely disassemble the cylinder head. With gasoline engines against this background, peace and quiet. The newcomer that appeared during the restyling of 2012, the Ford 4-cylinder turbo engine 2.0 GTDI of the EcoBoost line, in 6% of cars, did not stain itself with serious childhood diseases. And to senile, due to relative freshness and low mileage, he did not live until he was noted only by his exactingness to the purity and quality of fuel. The Volvo inline 6 5.2, dismissed in 2012, did not let us down either, for 5% of cars. With her, Freelander is not so much faster as voracious, but the chain in the gas distribution drive rarely stretches before 250 to 300,000 kilometers, and the most noticeable nuisance is the unsuccessful oil separator of the crankcase ventilation system, integrated into the valve cover of cars older than 2008, due to the rapidly clogged exhaust. The engine starts to sweat oil along the oil cracks, and in a neglected case, it can catch oil seals. And in order not to prematurely hit €300 for a new gas pump, keep the gas tank at least half full in the heat, without cooling with fuel, the submersible unit cannot resist overheating for a long time. It is quite reliable, although rare, only 7% of cars, available with the diesel engine, a 6-speed manual gearbox get rag Ford M66. Only with a margin of safety, the clutch was missed from the first run. In early copies it wore out after 50 to 60,000 kilometers, but after operational modernization it began to serve at least twice as long. At first, the 6-speed automatic Eisenwarner AWF-21, 93% of cars, also bucked up. It began to twitch and slip on the go. On many Freel from the first batches, it was changed under warranty or as part of a service campaign launched in 2008. Without a major overhaul, the box is quite capable of holding out up to 250,000 kilometers, and in general, one of the most successful Eisenhower units, can be blamed only for not the most powerful torque converter locking mechanism. So the main ambush in the transmission is the rear final drive. At first, an unpleasant hum when picking up speed after 60 km/h bothered the owners after 30 to 60,000 kilometers, and dealers changed the assembly. Restyled cars younger than 2010 also began to please with the hum, but later, after 80 to 100,000 kilometers, and only bearings began to be updated under warranty. After 110 to 130,000 kilometers, wheel bearings can also add characteristic noise. Well, if the crunch and rattle when starting off after 160 to 180,000 kilometers will be heard from the front, this is a question for the angular gear of the front gearbox. Are there any oil leaks on the gearbox? This is a signal to replace worn drive seals and cardan shaft. The cardan itself notifies of its fatigue with shocks and vibrations after 160 to 180,000 kilometers. And try at least once every 50,000 kilometers to update the special oil along with the filter in the multiplate clutch of the rear axle drive. This will certainly extend the life of the clutches. But, alas, it will not ensure against a malfunction of the clutch oil pump or an electronic control unit suffering from road dirt. Too much hassle? But the suspension does not bother. Although in this case, the early specimens managed to distinguish themselves, the thrust bearings of the front suspension struts first broke after 60 to 70,000 kilometers, the outer steering tips, even earlier, after 30 to 40,000. The rack and pinion steering gear was often replaced under warranty due to knocking. Later, all the weaklings were finalized, significantly increasing their service life, and the stabilizer struts were the first to be asked to retire after 40 to 60,000 kilometers. But the rear shock absorbers can withstand at least 80 to 120,000 kilometers. The front ones serve at least 100 to 150,000. And so that the power steering pump lives happily ever after, without upsetting the rumble after 120 to 160,000 kilometers. Surprise the sellers of spare parts by buying not only a working fluid for replacement every 50 to 60,000 kilometers, but also an inexpensive plastic power steering reservoir. It has a built-in filter. In general, at first the second Land Rover Freelander was rather damp in many respects, and buying a copy of the first years of production is clearly not the best investment. But 9 years of production and 2 upgrades, in 2010 and 2012, have done their job. And in its current form, Freelander II is not inferior in reliability to the completely successful BMW XZ of the first generation. But the price is to match its indiscretion.